I did this to someone this summer, or this fall. This fall, they sent me a picture of a giant deer that they had on camera. They got excited. I don't think normally they would have sent me this picture, and I just started putting the pieces of the puzzle together. And within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I found the 80 acres that they own and the piece of public adjacent to it, and I'd be able to hunt that deer.
Yeah, you'd be right in the mix. Yeah, it's funny. When it comes to sharing spots, I share a ton with certain people, but it depends on the kind of person it depends on how they ask about information, and it depends on the kind of person they are. So we'll get like messages where, some of the people who follow us are from Michigan. They kind of have a general idea where I'm at, and they'll try to guess like where I'm at. So I'll get messages like, "Are you at so and so place at this intersection or whatever?" And like, I mean, if you're listening, I'm just going to tell you the truth right now. I straight up make it up. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Fair Chase podcast. Excited to come back with you another week to talk today with Kevin Vistisen of the Deer Hunter podcast. We've had him on quite a bit. But before we jump into that, there is some news for our Michigan-based hunters, followers here. We have a film event coming up on March 19th. So the Welty Street Theater, Grand Rapids, Michigan. We'll have links and stuff coming up here soon. But you guys that are our listeners get to hear it first. It will be 7 p.m. There'll be films, giveaways, and we're going to go out afterwards and grab a beer at a bar. So we'll get more details as we get closer. But for people who are listening, definitely worth checking out. Kevin, you should come too.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I was hoping I was going to get an invite, and here it is.
Yeah, it's a personal one because again, this is not public, but everybody that's listening gets first invite, and Kevin, you get the official second invite then.
Yeah, that's cool. I'll take that.
Yeah, so we'll do some films from Mark Peterson from Worldwide Trophy Adventures, a deer he had killed this year that scored, and I think 200 and some inches. We'll show mountain lion film, goat film, some other stuff that we haven't shown yet. So excited to bring that to you. We'll have more details soon, but enough of that stuff. Kevin, how are you doing? Good to have you back.
That's cool. That's fun, man, that you're putting an event together like that. And they didn't do the film festival at ATA this year. Is the first time in however many years. So some high quality films are looking like misfits right now and looking for a place to get in.
Yeah, that's the thing, and it's always so fun. We've had fun. They do the full draw tour here in Grand Rapids in the summer, but it's like season's over, not much going on. Good to get together with a bunch of guys who like to hunt in Michigan, show some films off, and do that whole thing. So yeah, it should be fun. We're excited. We've never done this before. We've done an archery shoot in the summer, and I think we're actually looking to bring that back this year too. But we needed something in the winter, and we talked about this for a while, and it was finally just cool to make something work.
That's nice. Yeah, watching a good quality film on a phone is like a crime that should be punishable by jail. Like at a minimum, you want to watch it on a high quality TV with a good sound system because these guys put such effort into the quality of the production, both video and audio, and to watch it on your phone, which unfortunately just is a matter of the fact, it's going to be what a vast percentage of people are going to do. But boy, if you get to go to a venue that's set up correctly and watch a film, like, I forbid you get to watch a good quality hunting film at like a theater, like a movie theater, it is world class, man.
Yeah. And you're right. It takes forever. We're working on this mountain lion film right now, and we've worked on it for weeks and weeks and weeks, and cut stuff, put stuff in, took it out, and it's a painstaking process. So it'll be good to see it on the big screen. I know our camera guy especially will really like that because like he's the same way. Like we went and watched one of our other film releases, and we were at somebody's house, and the color on his TV was all like kind of blue, like cold.
Right.
And he just is like stopped. He had to fix it. It bothers him. So you got to watch it the right way. So it should be cool. It should be a good way to get some films out. Like I said, we have some cool partners who do really make some really cool films. And it's one of our favorite parts of this whole deal is just to kind of showcase it, show where people go, learn about it. I love watching hunting movies.
Yeah, no kidding, huh? Were you? I'm
So
trying to think, dude. I'm my memory is such a mess with as much stuff as I have going on. But when you guys did the collective with us, did we watch the Michigan Gone Wild films at the end of it?
yeah, that was awesome.
I couldn't remember, and I know we had bad weather too. I couldn't remember if you guys stuck around for that.
Yeah, no, we stuck around for the we no, we were around for it. We left before. What was the last thing? I can't remember now. Was it like grabbing beers or something together afterwards or something like that? And me and Jared left at that time.
Yeah, and I don't know.
Like you said, the weather was bad.
Yeah, and I don't even know. Well, yeah, there was a group of us that did end up at a local bar. We didn't stay terribly long. Uh, but just I remember that in that room, the sun was just going down, so it was kind of like a really like perfect lighting in there, and
Yeah,
we had the TV set up, and it was just really fun. Well, we had a hook to the PA and all that. It was fun and enjoyable. But the simple thing, like you said about the lighting not being right, or it could be that much. Like the lighting could be wrong in the room, or for the
yeah,
area to watch the film, and that just you want to have it. You want to be at an event that's thought out by somebody like you just said. You brought, those guys, especially the producers, they kind of are ahead on all that stuff. So that's cool.
yeah.
Actually, what's the date of it?
March 19. You're helping me out big time, by reminding everybody of these details. Like March 19th,
Dude, I'm
7 p.m.
semi-professional.
You're good. You've clearly done this before.
I'd like to be at that. So we'll see. My schedule's a real mess. Where is it?
Wealthy Street Theater, kind of downtown Grand Rapids.
Yeah,
So it's a hike for you. That is the ways. You're already far up there.
that's not
No.
terrible. 90 minutes, 2 hours. Depending on weather or whatever. But even if the weather's awful, I'll make it there in 2.5 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So
It's worth the drive. It'll be cool. And we got Cafaro's doing a film and some other guys. So Latitude, I think, is going to be doing something which would be cool. The Latitude guys, and we're just getting to know them now.
okay,
So
nice.
should be cool. Well, let me show you something a second.
Okay.
Check out what I found today on public land here in Michigan. My first shed. Well, actually, my second shed of the year, but a first real one. I found a spike a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, but today I found like a real boy,
Yeah, that's a doozy.
thick, like a pop can.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta appreciate that. He's either got great genetics or age or both.
I'm hoping both. I'm hoping it's a spot that I got to think about how I can say this. It's a public land spot, but it's a unique public land spot. And we'll just maybe leave it at that.
You don't have
I
to
do
say any more than
have
that. I've been talking about crop and saying public or private. I've been not doing.
Yeah.
I've been saying DIY whitetail hunting.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. I think about
I like that.
because I hunt public and private.
Same.
By permission, private that I own, family stuff, but spend majority of my time on public. And I don't know, my strategy different. I'm more limited on
Right.
because I can't move freely about. It's obnoxious to me. But if you have the right spot and you lay off of it until the right time, it can be quite deadly as well. But I don't ever feel like I'm hunting less hard, or
Yeah.
or one or the other is going to be a slam dunk. I'm just always trying to play the hot hand and have as many options as possible. That can be private or public, and I just don't want to draw crowds. Um, I don't want to be part. I see a trend out west of crowding going on because the resources. What it is
Yeah.
not everybody can do this. I know we constantly say we want more hunters. We want more hunters. I'm interested actually. Maybe you've been paying attention. I'd love to see what the trends are here in the state, the most up to date numbers, what they actually are nationally, because they always say we're losing hunters, but it's because a lesser percentage of the population hunts. That's correct, but kind of like per capita, the population's way bigger. So,
Right.
like, there's a lot more people in the woods, even if the percentage is lower, because it's a larger number that you're taking a percentage of.
Right.
And
Yeah, it's yeah.
so I can see, especially in the coming 10, 20 years, the resource is going to be pressured.
This episode is brought to you by 2O Gear, innovators in technical hunting clothing. 2O is a newer company. It's based right here in Michigan, and whether you're hunting elk in the mountains or chasing antelope in the plains or traipsing through swamps after that ruddy buck, 2O has you covered with premium jackets and pants, merino wool layers, everything you could possibly need to stay comfortable in the woods. Their products are engineered for functionality and durability, ensuring you stay protected in any conditions. Plus, their camo is really effective. We're big fans. So don't take our word for it, though. Go to 2ogear.com and check it out.
It already is in a lot of instances and places, right? So I'm just saying DIY deer hunting. That's going to be kind of like a little bit of our brand going forward. I don't feel that, and we had this conversation internally, because should you put public land in the title because it'll click harder? And I'm like, no, I'm kind of done with it, man. Like,
I know, because it's like, first of all, those always seem to be divisive. And we could, we probably could stand to be a little less divisive within the hunting community. So you say public and then you're bragging, and yet, then the guys at private think he only shoots small bucks, or if there's just so much that goes into it. I like the, I might use the DIY. I found that this was on some DIY land.
yeah,
I found this,
dude, the reality is, public or private, they both have their flex. Like,
yeah,
I can flex out, I can come out and flex and be like, did it on public, killed this giant deer on public, or I can flex and come out and be like, bought this badass piece of property, developed it, killed a deer here, and am building equity and have another asset in my portfolio. So that's a flex too.
yeah, it's just very different.
It's just very different, right? And people just like struggle to not. I don't know what the deal is. The problem is social media and just the way it makes us generally act. Because yeah, you get a bunch of guys together at that event like you're doing.
Yeah,
No one's going to be, you think half the room's going to be one side and the other half's going to be the other side. They're going to be yelling at each other.
well, you just kind of walk in, and it's like, how do you self-protect, self-promote, and that is social media driven. Like that's really all it is. And people assume, for example, private land, you just kind of sit back, you shoot a bunch of deer, and it's like, actually, historically in my life, I've had a harder time. I find private a lot of times harder for me because, like you said, I can't go all around. I hate going to the same spot and like sitting there and not moving around.
We hunt too much.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I hunt too much. And then Jared will complain like, oh, you're blowing up this spot. I'm like, I just want to go hunting, man. I don't want to wait for the perfect weather. I just want to go out there.
Yeah.
It doesn't play out well.
Yeah. I like having the option to do both.
Yeah.
My big thing, I got to be able to move freely about. Yeah. I
love that.
Yeah, that's my thing. So, that's just harder to do on private. Unless you're in a situation. Some guys are in situations where they got access on so much private they can't hunt all of it. It's a unique situation,
Well, everybody's got their own thing, and it's like, I've got a bunch of public land, and I also have what is a 10-acre plot that's really like 3 or 4 acres of actually huntable land. Mm-hmm. And I know when I'm there, there's like 2 spots that I should go and hit, and I should not go there unless it's right. But man, I want to go out, and then I'll sit down and I'll be like, no, I want to go over there and move and check for sign and do all the things that, a private land guy is like pulling his hair out because it's not what you do. So, I mean, every style is hard, and every style has its own unique, value. So I like that DIY deer.
In the trades, we have like, they call them straight line guys. And then, we have service guys. Straight line guys will go in and just run hangers and pipe. They love the repetition. They know what's going next. There's no curveballs. We know when we're getting in. We know when we're getting out. There's a whole subset of guys in the trade that want to do that work. Then there's another subset of guys that want to be just thrown into absolute chaos. Make my day a problem. Everything's broken. You got to deal with customers. You're on the road. There's logistics. It's like way more variables. Um, Schedule's been set for 2 weeks. We got this big project, day of the project, schedule changes, emergency. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, there's two different personalities. And I kind of see that in the hunting space too, where you get these guys that love the chaos, like Alex Chop individual,
Yeah.
who he thrives in the chaos. That's kind of the rhythm that he runs at. But then there's other guys that want calculate it out, put it on a spreadsheet. What are my odds? Show me the data. You know,
Yeah.
and they're trying to eliminate as many variables as possible so that this certain situation happens.
They're like the guys that are like, how many odds can I stack? And you're thinking of it in like very logically, very prepared ahead of time.
Yeah. Do you want to go to the deer, or do you want to build something that brings the deer to you? Both are super
Yeah.
fun. I like
Yes,
I
and
like doing
super
both.
valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So
no, exactly. And we do both. And like, yeah, some of the comments we'll get are funny around that both ways. And messages and things. It's like, I thought you didn't do that, or I thought you only did that. It's like, well, no, I'll basically hunt anywhere that I'm allowed to hunt all the time.
some of these permission pieces I have are so small. Like, it's kind of why they hunt good, because no one's ever hunted them because they're so
Yep.
small.
Yep.
It's like an overlooked deal. And I already know guys in my area are hunting some of the same deer that I'm hunting. I'll only get one crack because I only got like basically one spot on this, but the deer's in the area, and if it comes through. But people are inquisitive, and they want to know, hey, where are you? Maybe they've hunted there for a decade, and all of a sudden you're in the picture, right? Like,
Yeah.
they're trying to figure out where's this additional pressure at. And with the maps and everything nowadays, it's like you have to have a new level of approach to kind of telling who and what you're doing. Um, if you don't want your spots to get found out, I don't know. I've kind of always been a little bit guarded about, even at our personal deer camp with friends and family. Like, I'm not going to straight up gar hole friends and family, but I'll do some mental gymnastics to send somebody a little bit a rogue. And I don't, because it'll happen. You kill a deer, and then the next year maybe you're not there, and you find out, oh, so and so went. They went and so cool. That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't mind giving up those spots, but some of them I don't want to give up. So I thought about that a lot this year, and I was like, man, I don't even want to tell anybody if I'm on public or private, because of the way the geography, and they know where I am because they know the deer, right?
OnX is the title sponsor of our podcast here at the Fair Chase, and it's a must-have app for all of us who love to explore the outdoors. Whether you're hunting or hiking or fly fishing, OnX gives you detailed, accurate maps right at your fingertips. With property boundaries, topographical features, and trail data, you'll always know where you are and where you're headed. You'll also likely be able to figure out where that big buck is headed to. Plus, their offline maps mean you're covered even in the most remote locations. OnX is the ultimate tool for outdoor navigation, making every adventure safer and more enjoyable. Download OnX today and explore with confidence.
So they have a general idea of like maybe a 10 square mile that I have to be in somewhere, and start looking. And this isn't unique to me by any case.
Oh,
I did this to someone this summer, uh, or this fall. This fall, they sent me a picture of a giant deer that they had on camera. They got excited. I don't think normally they would have sent me this picture. A higher profile individual, and I just started putting the pieces of the puzzle together. And within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I found the 80 acres that they own and the piece of public adjacent to it. And I'd be able to hunt that deer.
yeah. Yeah, you'd be right in the mix. Yeah, it's funny. When it comes to sharing spots, I will share. I share a ton with certain people, but it depends on the kind of person that and how they. It depends on how they ask about information, and it depends on the kind of person they are. So we'll get like messages where some of the people who follow us are from Michigan. They kind of have a general idea where I'm at, and they'll try to guess like where I'm at. So I'll get messages like, "Are you at so and so place at this intersection or whatever?" And like, I mean, if you're listening, I'm just going to tell you the truth right now. I straight up make it up. Like, I will never tell you. If you message me blindly on Instagram and guessing where I am, I will never tell you the truth. I'm saying it right now. Now, if it's somebody I know that's maybe a new deer hunter or you know, a really good friend, I'll share some information because, I just will. But if it's the people that are either expecting it and like expecting me to tell them or trying to guess without ever talking to me before, yeah, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna tell you the truth on that one. Uh
I ran into a guy, and if he listens, I love him. I think he's a great dude. Ran into him. He pulled us. I was go walking down a 2 track, and he pulled up and he rolled his window down. He said who I was and what I did. And he said, I've been following along for a long time. Knew you were around here somewhere in the area. Nice to meet you. We made some small talk and whatnot. And then, we both knew there was a giant deer. Like,
yeah.
right. I mean, I was like, oh no, this is like the worst time to run into somebody because I'm like within a very close distance to a camera that I have this deer on. And anyway, it was, an overlooked spot, I think. So we part ways and he goes off down the road and he's gone out of sight. So the camera was only like 15 foot off the road. Like you could see me clear as day from the road at
Yeah.
the camera. So the camera's up one stick. So I get a stick out, I get up there and I'm starting to do my thing. And I hear the truck coming back. And I'm like, he's like, I have this giant deer. This deer is mid 160s
Really?
on this scrape a couple days in a row in daylight. And I'm like, I definitely don't want to give this spot up.
Yeah.
So I jumped out of the tree and grabbed some branches and pulled them over me. And I laid flat in the leaves. And I didn't feel super proud about it. I kind of felt like this is going to get real awkward if he sees me. And he calls me out and he's like, because he came by slow. He had been hunting the spot longer than me. So I'm not trying to like I'm saying like I'm the guy in there where he's like, what's this guy doing? He's messing up my thing. He had an opportunity. He had that deer within bow range and couldn't kill it the year before, but so he was actively hunting the deer. He had the deer sheds. He's very invested in it. So now here's this guy.
Some insta famous guy horning in on his spot.
So yeah, it was just I'm trying to do what I can to keep a low profile and don't want to screw things up for other people at the same point in time, So I don't know where you're at, but I've been having a lot of fun deer hunting, and that's kind of my metric for success these days. Really, is am I having like the most fun? What am I doing with my time? Uh, and am I really thoroughly getting out of it what I want? Because it doesn't last all year, it comes and goes real quick.
I love that. That's a great way to think about it. And honestly, if more people did, well, first of all, they just have more fun. But I think they would just be freer with everything. Yeah, I mean, I've had it I've had it a lot over the last couple of years where I'll get trail camera pics. Trail cameras make this interesting because I will get pictures of us sent to us by people in Michigan who we've walked by their trail camera at some point, and they'll be like, "Hey, is this you?" And I'm like, "I just saw you on my camera here." And then they'll send a couple, and it's like, "Yeah, yeah, that was me." I can't make that up. Be like, "No, that wasn't me." But yeah, that's part. It's the weird thing about hunting because you want to find like whenever I'm out, I'm looking for like this spot that is like untouched, like the Garden of Eden, where it's just like me, undisturbed wilderness, and no one will, I don't ever have to deal with anybody. But I've just not found that spot on any DIY land, I should say, in Michigan or anywhere really I've gone.
Yeah. A guy got a picture of me on a camera. This was a couple years back. He sent it to me, and he said, "My buddy got this picture of you on your camera," and he said, "The early bird gets the worm." And I was like, "That's a weird thing to say." And so I had sat that morning, like I got out to my spot and sat, but my plan was to get down pretty quickly, scout around, and find a spot for the afternoon. So it was like it was like 9:30 in the morning or 9 o'clock or something when I was like walking into the spot. And so then he sent me the next picture. It was a nice buck, like 15 minutes before me,
Oh.
right there.
Mom. That's awesome.
Yeah. So he trolled me, and I appreciated it a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'll keep you honest out there.
yeah. So, but cameras are pretty much everywhere now. I try to keep an eye out for them and avoid them. And I thought I was all doing real good. And then my buddy comes over. He's like, "Yeah, I got so many pictures of you." And I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah."
Yeah, I know. Well, people hang them higher now and they hide them better. I spotted one maybe 2, 3 weeks ago. I was out in a spot just poking around, and I'm like, I don't know why I like did one of these, and I'm like, I look up, and this guy had a camera like, I mean, it was 10, 15 feet in the air, 15 feet in a tree. I'm like, I don't know how I saw that, and I'm sure I've walked by if that guy's got more cameras, a bunch of other ones that I didn't see. But yeah, they're everywhere. I mean, they're cool. The cameras are cool. I use them. Had a bunch stolen this year, but I don't hide them particularly well or spend a whole lot of time with that, which I don't know why. So yeah, today when I was out, this was my consolation prize for the fact that someone took one of my trail cameras. So,
Ooh, damn.
you win some, you lose some.
Do
How
you,
was your season this year?
do you hang yours up?
When I'm on the ball,
Oh,
I'll throw them. I'll remember to bring a stick out,
yeah.
and but a lot of times I'll just be like, I'll be out like just poking around in the woods, and I'll have a camera, and I won't have a stick, and I'll just be like, oh, I should put a camera there and throw it out, and then I'm like too enamored with the spot to hide it,
I
you know.
I have a bag, the Latitude bag, the 22 pack.
Yeah,
That's like my camera and scouting bag now. So I have a stick that just stays strapped to it because
yeah,
I
that's
won't
smart.
I won't put well sometimes I want to I'll make a shift in a play and I'll be like, oh, I want to check that camera. Well, guess what? If it's a stick high and you don't have a stick, you're gonna look like a dumb idiot out there. I mean, I've done it.
I've done it too. Yeah.
Not cool. So it for both reasons, yeah, I want to be prepared, and then yeah, just I haven't had any problems with people. I'm amazed at how many people walk past my cameras. Like they walk right past them. It blows my mind. Um, Either everybody's playing me for a fool and they're seeing it and they act like they're not, or like 98% of people aren't seeing my cameras. And so just the one stick high seems to be really effective, and I haven't had any theft. And the deer, they pay no attention to them. I have a little bit of a method in the way out, because I do a lot of make and mock scrapes. So I make sure, and I learned this from hunting with Dan Infault and spending time in the woods with Dan Infault hunting bears. Guys would make the mistake of doing their baits and then their cameras, and they get all the scent and shit on your camera,
Yeah.
and that'll make animals super inquisitive about it. So we make sure the first thing we do is get the camera 100% done so that when we're standing where the scrape's being made, the camera, we're already verifying it, and everything's perfect with the camera. And I don't touch any of the dirt or do any of the scent until I know that I don't have to go back even up on a stick.
So, because otherwise, dude, I've had that where it's like I got a spot, I put a camera, and I'm messing around trying to get the angle right with a stupid camera for like 15 minutes. And it's like I put a stick, I get down, some of my cameras have like the screen, you know, so you can see where you're pointing, and some don't, so I have to wait to like send one to my phone. But like you don't want it too angled down or too out or whatever. So yeah, it's good to get that set first. That's how I like that. Well, I knew you're big into scrapes, right? You've got the DH3, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, so 2 years ago, we brought a synthetic deer lure attractant to market, a system, a 3-part system, and we've expanded on that since. I had brought a new product out last year, right at the end of October. And so we have a couple different things, but yeah, um, I've been playing around in the synthetic deer scent world now for, I guess, getting close to a decade. You know, when I started really, really running cameras and really trying to figure out what was effective and what wasn't effective and when, and situational,
Yeah.
you know, and then I started to have better success with synthetic deer lure products. And I thought for a lot of reasons that that made sense, but I would still have some more favorable interactions with cameras and some deer that just it was not favorable. You'd have still have a percentage of negative interactions. And my thought process was that is because you're putting a foreign thing into a deer's environment. And so a lot of deer are just like, oh, that's super awesome. But an older, more wary deer is kind of like, what's going on here? Like, I'm not, especially in the heat of the season, you
Yeah.
know, do something like that and you throw that
Like disrupts things.
yeah, that's something that I've not smelled before. Yeah, okay, but they're already on high alert that time of year.
Right.
So I started to work with things that are found you pretty universally in a whitetail's environment, things that they like the most, and started to concentrate that down and made a couple different variations of some synthetic lures, and we started field testing them with a group of people. And then, you know, we knew one in particular, which was our branch catalyst that we brought out, was just like, this is next level. It's not even comparable
Yeah.
to what everything else was working. And one of the reasons is because it is such it's so powerful. When we were talking about putting the scents down before like the cameras, I'll always say now that like doing the cameras, like doing the crime, and putting the scent out is like throwing bleach all over the crime scene before you walk up.
I like that.
Because these deer come in, it's like CSI. They're like, you know what? This guy's a pro. I don't know. So
Yeah.
and when so now I have a pretty in depth system in a way, you know, that I've been working to do this for the next couple of years, and I really do look at it now as like a trapper. When I go out, I'm setting. So you have to
That's
have a
exactly
I
right.
have to have a protocol. You kind of have to have a little bit of a system because a successful trapper, you know, they're really neat, they're really tidy. They don't step out of line this way or that way. They, you know, real fishing in the woods. Um, you know, Dan Infault, like I had alluded to, I kind of picked up on that originally from him hunting bears because I put some attractant and then I started to walk. He's like, don't walk over it. He's like, we're not going, you know, that we walk right here and then we walk out of here. And so I was just like, oh, all right, yeah. And so anyway, yeah, been working on that for the last couple years and have a couple products that I don't know. It's been I struggle. It's hard to talk about them in a positive light and not sounds like a fan.
Salesy.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
also try to not be bashful about being like, man, you just got to see it for yourself. And we have a lot of testimonials and stuff on our website and stuff. And people, you know, the proof is now out there that if you utilize the product correctly, it works to attract whitetail deer, man.
Well, I like that, and if anybody that does follow you should know that you're not a You're not a BS guy. You're not just gonna say something
Yeah.
to just say it, which I appreciate about you. So you're what I like about this is so it's a three-part for anybody who hasn't seen it. So it's a three-part system. The second two are where you come in, Kevin, and you got like your branch catalyst, you spray it on the leaves and they'll rub their face, and then the urine kind of to work into the scrape. But the first one is education, which I like that. First, I like that part. And I do like the disclaimer. I just had it up. It said, disclaimer, this product does not kill deer, you do. So both of those things made me, those are good ads for sure. Because like you need to know where you put a scrape down. You can't just put it anywhere, right? And you have to know all the things around it, like you just said, how to keep tidy, and also know full well just because you're putting this down doesn't mean you're gonna, go automatically blast a buck next time you go out.
Yeah, it's kind of like real estate, looking at a piece of property and wondering if it makes sense as an investment, you know? There's like a lot of things that have to be going on for it, where it's geographically located, what it is. Um, like say we built two new Starbucks and we built one out on the corner of a closed road
Yeah.
and a two track, and then we put one at a big metropolis corner. Which one's
Yeah.
going to outperform? So eh, the geographical location and the education around, not, you want to manipulate the deer as little as possible. Like you want to enter into, it's their game, you're playing it. I get discouraged about the guys that are like, um, yeah, you're trying to like get you to think that the product is so good that these deer are gonna just recklessly like walk across the like, oh, it's a doe and heat, like and it's real expensive doe and heat, so I got to go now, and I'm gonna walk right across this like. We're trying to not manipulate their behavior as much as capitalize on it.
Yeah,
So
fit into what's going on
yes,
and it like interact like it become part of it as opposed to just like you said trying to call them out to some place they'd never ever go just because you got whatever sent.
yeah, and it takes some patience. But, you just kind of roll with the punches. You take your data and you see what worked and what didn't work for you. And it's just a super fun way to hunt. And
Yeah.
it all sales pitchy stuff 100% aside, it's just fun to play around with different things when you hunt. Like,
Yeah.
it's never not been like the hunting quote unquote industry has always had things to play with, and us the other grown men are like, cool, like let's
Yeah.
try that, let's try that, let's try that. So, you know, guys get really rigid in their ideologies and the way that they hunt. And I had a guy post a thing when we were running an ad, and he's like, "Oh, I never needed a crutch, deer hunting." And I'm thinking, like, you crotchety old,
You got to complain about everything.
just because we're not out there doing it exactly like you are, you got to be like that. And my response was, do these elite trappers need crutches? Because like they're using scents and lures, and it's a huge part of their success, right? So
Right.
why can't we?
It's just a different way to do it,
It's just a different way to do it.
because you can go, I mean, you can go out east and track a deer and just, you know, follow a deer around all day. And you try that here in Michigan, and that same crabby guy will be like, "Oh, you're just blowing up all the deer. You're walking around, and you take a rifle out during gun season. Sounds like, oh, you're not using a bow, or. And so there's all that's like you can't. There's no winning. There's no everybody. There's never a time when everybody's going to be happy. We're dealing with this right now. Like I mentioned that mountain lion film. It's like, yeah, we went with dogs, and we've already had some interesting messages people have sent us. I didn't know you guys are a bunch of cheaters. Didn't expect you. I'm like, oh my goodness, you never gone duck hunting with a dog or squirrel or rabbit hunting with some beagles or anything? You've never done any of that grouse hunting? But apparently, once you get to lions, like it has its own little.
The whole predator hunting thing, yeah, it's got its whole vibe, whatever. Holy cow.
A lot of coyote hunting.
No, I don't have time to do anything like that. No, I'm sleeping. I sleep Like the older I get, dude, the more I really appreciate. I'll sleep like 10 hours a night this time of year, so I'm not going coyote hunting, dude.
I like that. Yeah, no, I will go occasionally. I lost. I had a thermal scope that I lost in the woods. It was a long story, and so I was all geared up to go coyote hunting with it, and then I lost it. So Joe has his stuff all set up, so I'll go hunt with him at night sometimes. But you're up to like 3 in the morning. By the time I'm done, I'm
Yeah,
shot the next day. I gotta find a time to sneak a nap in during the workday,
yeah,
somewhere.
right.
And I work from home, and my daughter's homeschooled, so it's what will happen is, and I'm fully admit I'll take a little siesta during the day, but sometimes she'll like open the door and she'll just see me and like shake her head like disappointed in me. I'm like, get out of here, go do your homework, leave dad, I'm working, lock the door.
Yeah, I'm always trying to blast them when if I see them
Yeah.
and I'm out there and it makes sense uh but yeah, no, I'm not. I don't actively do any of that predator hunting. Between actually deer hunting and manufacturing enough product and handling the business, customer service, we take that real seriously. Some stuff just has fallen through the crack. It's been just a
Yeah,
crazy
part of the deal.
years trying to prioritize and execute between the business and making sure that I'm getting out to do my thing. Cause like people told me when you did this, they're like, you like deer hunting, you're gonna find out real quick that this is a different thing when you got a product that a product that people want in the fall. So I wanted to make sure I didn't let that get away from me. So just balancing the whole thing. The last couple of years have been they just been bananas, but I've been
Well, you
loving it.
keep adding stuff.
Yeah, I'm like,
you know
I'm
You've
the
got your scent system and your shirts, and you've got. I mean, I was just looking at your website. You got a bunch of stuff coming out on YouTube. You've been busy.
we've been busy. Byron has worked with me for the last year. So a lot of that is his efforts that you're seeing. We kind of we got a couple other guys, Joe and Nick, that help us a lot on the backside too. So that's where a lot of that stuff is coming from. Because my efforts specifically have really been into the scent, making sure we had one of our vendors send us some bad product, which we ended up making some product that was, in my opinion, subpar. So I had to work through like who that went to. Um, of course, like Mark Kenyon gets a bad batch, you know, like seriously, Kurt Geyer gets a bad batch. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, dude. So I had to go back all through that. Found the problem.
Are you talking the scent? Those guys are using that?
Yeah, they were both tried it out last year, and I had to
Yeah.
send them new stuff. It's not that the stuff that I sent them was bad, but it wasn't what I had originally because my
Yeah.
vendor changed a, a chemical, loosely say chemical. Uh, uh,
Hmm.
a vendor changed the makeup of one of our primary ingredients that we use without telling anybody. They didn't even change the label. I found it out through basically chemistry, um, like the chemical reaction that was happening. And they couldn't even explain to me from their side why this was happening. I had to figure it out on my own. Long story short, I dumped them. It was a minimal amount of product. It was just bad timing. Uh,
Yeah.
I got a handle on it. I found a better vendor. So long story short is I've been very invested in making sure that the product quality is as good as it can possibly be. And because of that, because I've been spending so much time, I look like a psychopath now. I got all these beakers and vials of stuff laying around. Listen, this is a true story. Usually I do UPS for pickup
Yeah.
when we send stuff out, and I had to do FedEx, and the FedEx guy showed up, and he had never, and he's looking in here, and he's peeking in, and he looks like sketched out, and I'm like, what's? what's his deal? And I don't know if one, he thought I was like making bombs, or if he thought maybe because we're kind of remote that like there might be a meth operation going
Math.
on in your.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, it's good, man. Like we make synthetic deer lures." And he's like, "Oh, I wonder what was going on over there." And so it was just kind of funny, but yeah, I'm starting to look a little bit like a crazy person here in the shop. But the product of spending so much time doing it is that I feel like I kind of know the space as good as anybody now about what that stuff actually is and how it can work to manipulate whitetails. I'm looking forward to putting more content out, like more in-depth stuff about it this year, because ask often. I don't have a lot of that out. And
Yeah.
part of that has been that I'm not trying to like constantly ram this stuff down people's throats. But at the same point in time, I've been doing it long enough now where I feel like I'm like, kind of understand this a little bit differently than I think probably a high percentage of people do, just solely based on the amount of time that I have invested into that space.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have the scent. You're like, first of all, you got the Walter White situation, going at your house. But I mean, even just scrapes and mock scrapes, there's a lot of different information out there right now about it. A lot of people say just a lot of things about it. So it is good to have someone who has spent so much time with sense to just share what they know. And like, it's one thing to read about it and then talk about it, which a lot of people do online. They'll read some article and then they'll act like it's their idea or whatever. But it's a very different thing to spend that's some of your income. Like that's a product that you make. You're very, you get very invested in it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fact, right? So anyway, it's been great. We're getting we're starting to get our boys going and everything. So we're at
Yeah.
the point in I talked with Dan Johnson last week from Nine Finger Chronicles, and I asked him what he was most excited about in the deer hunting space. And he told me that his kids are just starting to hunt, and he's like gassed up for that. And I was like, oh, that's pretty sweet, because our kids are just kind of getting to that point too. And
Yeah.
I'm being more seriously here in the next couple of years, where I'm going to have to start prioritizing my son's time in the woods along with my own, because I'm a busy person that time of year, like really. So I don't want to be slowed down a whole lot. So, but in fairness to him, I don't want to drag him through a bunch of miserable situations and make him not like hunting. Dan Infalt was real talk about that real publicly for a lot of times, about strapping 20 pounds of gear to his son, drag him through a swamp, and his son never wanted to deer hunt again. And I'm like, yeah, you made it miserable for him, dude. We're getting gummy bears, you know, getting some chocolate. We're getting all kinds of the food that mom doesn't let us eat in the house all the time. We take that deer hunt with us, throw a blind up, try to, prioritize shorter sits, having some action. Some kids are better than others, right? I'm already seeing that patience,
Yeah.
how much they actually kind of organically care in the moment. But the nice thing, the thing I like about the product with, baiting being outlawed in Michigan, the
Yeah.
scrape method, you have something at a known distance. One, for a bow hunter, how valuable is that? Like, we know that that's 15 yards because we set it up that way.
Yeah.
What's the guy say? You want him at 20, you put it at 20. What's that character? What's his name? It's Bud Fisher. That's whose name. What, I can't think of. Rut Daniels.
Rut Daniels. There it is. There. Like, I know I can picture him.
Pour out some
Yeah.
corn. But you could do the same thing with a mock scrape. So that's what's great about it. And so one, you know the distance, so you know if the deer's standing there working that,
Yep.
interacting with it, you know the yardage. And two, you can assume in most situations, if that deer's coming through comfortably, they're going to
Yeah.
stop and investigate that. And we've been setting these oak. We cut an oak branch off and let it dry a little bit, and then we zip tie it up. And they'll jam their face right in that oak branch. It has all those leaves. They literally put their face up in there. Now their ears and eyes are covered momentarily. So, their vision's screwed up, their hearing screwed up, they're distracted because they're messing around with this. They're at 15 yards broadside. We just set this elite level bow hunting trap up. So I think for the kids and somebody that doesn't have a ton of experience hunting, you go in on a DIY public land deer hunt, you might sit for a lot of hours and then all of a sudden at the snap of fingers have like 9 seconds to react to
Yeah,
this.
that's true.
Hey, going through, get the bow, to ask a kid or somebody that's never had, they're like, dude, they're, you know what I mean?
There's no way.
Putting a rookie quarterback in a high pressure situation. Um, it's just better if you can build up to that. So we had the luxury as in Michigan to, I think it's a luxury to be able to bait because
Yeah.
you know that the deer is going to be at this yardage and you can have a little bit of time to assess and you wait for it to turn perfect. The scrape, I think, is the evolution of that because bait can make a lot of deer very wary, right? Especially mature bucks. Like the likelihood of them coming into that during daylight, or
Especially in Michigan. Yeah.
they just assimilate that there's going to be a hunter there, right? But if you set these scrapes up at elite levels, you can have all the benefits of a bait and less of the downside of it.
Yeah, I like that too. I mean, especially, if you're in a place like maybe say in, northern portions of Michigan where there's not even as much ag. And whether you're on private or public, a lot of times you're on public playing off ag on private,
Yeah.
but there are places where you don't have any centralized movement. So when you can find these hubs like scrapes, and you can start to kind of, manipulate it a little bit. I mean, that's a huge deal. That's like you said, other than baiting, that's really the only way you're going to find a more predictable place for something specific to happen.
Yeah. I mean, you could try to hunt a rub, but good luck. I mean, you know, um,
Never really works out for me.
no, they just interact with them way less, and does don't give a shit about rubs. So guess what?
Right.
That's why the scrape rules the roost is because both sexes care a whole lot about it. It's their hangout, their portal, it's their Facebook, it's their yellow pages, it's everything to them. It's how they communicate, socially, social structure. So it's the best thing to target. And yeah, you can. I was trying to like make a new term versus mock, like because when I was saying about like wanting to not manipulate their behavior as much as capitalize on it, I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, I'm almost feeling like a buck out here, right? This thing is real. I don't even think this is fake anymore. I think I've actually become part deer.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. That's funny. I had a question about. Oh yeah, okay. Say you're out in the woods and you don't have your system, your spray with you, and you come across just the scrape you didn't know about. Are you peeing on it?
Well, yes, but not always,
Okay.
because sometimes I don't have to pee.
Oh right.
So
True. Or if you have coffee, are you gonna do it if you just had a bunch of coffee and it's gonna come out stinky?
I
They're
don't
about
know.
asparagus.
I don't know if there's an upside or downside to that. I really don't. I don't do it enough to be able to say, what the plus minus is on that. But I can tell you where bang for buck is, and it's just visual presentation. If there's not a scrape there, especially if it's in the fall when all the leaves are already down and like the ground is covered with leaves, and you rip that thing open and you break a branch and like twist it up there, um, these deer are gonna check that out. Like the visual
Yeah.
aspect of it is kind of a big deal, So, but I pretty much most of the time have branch catalyst, with me because in that situation, if it's something that I'm actively hunting and I want to see like results,
Hmm.
I want to see deer traffic on that as quickly as possible. Um, I want to put that stuff on there. I want that, and that's why the branch cows is so much more valuable, in my opinion, versus the product in the dirt, is because it's up here and the wind can get it, and the wind can carry it, and the wind can take it, versus being down on the ground. It's not going to travel as far as much of a distance. So even though that kind of is a counter argument to me saying I'm already trying to like put these things right on the trail because I don't want the deer to have to smell that from a mile away and come.
Right.
The rut's a little different. We got to talk. There's too much to even get into because different times of the year, you can use the product totally differently from setting up a long-term play to like, hey, I want to capitalize on this now. That's a lot of what I did this year is going out, seeing if I could build a scrape right in front of me, hit it, sit down and kill a deer. And,
Nice.
yeah, I had a lot of great, quality interactions actually in December, it was silly. But I didn't have a buck tag and had like multiple interactions with bigger deer than I shot all year. So I was so irritated. It was ridiculous. I videoed a lot of it. I videoed all season. So I've got some really cool footage late season, big deer coming into scrapes, like going in, setting the thing up, climbing up the tree, getting up there and being able to do that. Um, and have a deer that comes through and actually investigates it in real time was some of my most cherished moments of the deer season.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a cool thing to do. And we've talked about this in the past, like December. I never, I I do a bad job holding out for December hunting, and because
Yeah.
there's just a lot less people out, and it's awesome. It's an awesome time to hunt, and like you get a little snow on the ground, you get a little more rut action again, and like I feel like I see some of the biggest deer that time of year.
Yeah. You'll get a good laugh out of when you see. So going into next season, we filmed all season, a group of us. And going into next season, we're going to publish all that on YouTube.
Mm.
And when I shoot my first buck, like one of the first things I say after I shoot it and I look at the camera is like, well, I guess I'm down to one tag. It was like a legit concern in the heat of the moment. My deer's not even pulled off that. And I'm concerned that I only have one deer tag because I just killed a nice buck. And then when I shot my second buck, I was like, well, it's not even December. And I guess I don't have any buck tags. I don't know exactly what I'm doing with my life, but it's like, you can't be talking like that when you're a deer hunter because you're out here to fill the tags. But yeah, when I got to this December, because of my relocation last year was a little bit tough for me in December because all new area,
Yeah.
but I paid real close attention. I left my cameras out. And when we got into this December, it was just like good encounter after good encounter after good encounter. And I had so much fun. And going into next year, man, I got a couple spots and it's just like this is kind of this is really crazy. Some of the couple of the biggest deer that I had interactions with through cameras all year were still active on my scrapes until like the 10th of January.
Really.
Yeah, working licking branches, working scrapes, chasing does around the scrapes. Um, that new product that we made that I
Hmm.
put out in November,
Hmm.
the 23rd of December, I went and put it out on a scrape. And yeah, that was like two days, I think, before Christmas.
Yep.
And then I went downstate for Christmas. I had this giant deer show up on camera, and then another one, and then another one. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, man. And it went on for like 2 weeks. Um, and that I don't know how I'm branding the new product. Yeah, I call it N11 because 11th month of the year, November, N11. It's like the rut, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we can all say what we want about the rut, but November is the rut month for the whitetail deer.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I formulated that product to be like an active scrape. I don't want to brand
Yeah.
dough and heat, but something in the chemistry has changed and you could see a reaction from the pro. I can't wait to share all that stuff. But yeah, late season for me this year was really exciting. And going into next year is like, yeah, you can wish you have a tag, but I don't know, it's just,
Well, and like people listening shouldn't get confused in thinking that we are not appreciating. Because I had the same thing this year. I shot one on the 16th, a buck on the 16th, and like the 18th or the 19th or something like that, and I was within like
I
5
know
waves
that's
or
right.
whatever. Yeah. So then I was done. And that's the first thing I thought of. And it's not that I wasn't thankful or I thought less of my deer or anything. It was just more like it's just so fun to try to figure them out and chase them. It's like, oh, the chase is done now. The chase is like the best part,
Yeah.
trying to figure them out, figuring out what, this year I had this one buck I kept bumping into. It's so funny. The first time it was a totally new area. I'd never been there before, climbed up, and I had known this is a place where there was like, I had seen a handful of scrapes in, a 2 acre spot, just big scrapes. So I'm like, sweet, climb up a tree. It's dark. I'm trying to be real quiet. I hardly keep my flashlight on because I'm pushing into where I think, I know they're going to be coming out of. And I had a one antlered buck come in truly directly beneath me when it was still dark. Um, and I'm like, well, that was weird. Like he literally came under the tree I was in, like for it. It gets light and I look down and I'm like, oh, sure enough, I climbed up like right above a scrape that I just didn't see. And I kind of came on the other side of it when I climbed up and was trying to be super sneaky. And sure enough, I had another buck come out from behind me in a different weird spot with a buck that I bumped into a bunch of times out there. Never got a shot on, but like, I shot these 2 bucks in November and I'm like, crap, now I can't chase that one that I've been trying to figure out all year. And he kind of won it. And I guess I have to wait for a year and that's cool and everything. But I have all December, and actually in some counties here in Michigan, you can hunt a lot of January too, like almost to the end of January, through the end of January.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
kind of jam me up.
Yeah, I was still wanting to kill deer, so I was pretty excited. I was like, well, December's gonna be doe,
Yeah.
be it's gonna be doe fest. And of course it's like buck, buck. I'm like, all right, this is fun and cool, but I honestly made it all through, and I missed a couple doe tracking, still hunting
Yeah. Oh,
track.
cool.
Yeah, I've flung some lead there, on success.
Got to do it.
Yeah, you gotta do it. Yeah, you're gonna miss all the deer you don't shoot at.
That's right.
So I did quite a bit of tracking, poked around there, had all kinds of issues, just silly stuff, track all day, have a doe walking calmly through at 80 yards, waiting for her to walk into the gap, pull the trigger, nothing, because I didn't like cock the hammer when I loaded the gun.
Yeah.
Stupid stuff, I'm
Yeah.
tell me I've been walking around all day without the gun essentially loaded. Like,
Oh, dude, I can beat that. This year, actually, a coyote comes in. I'm all excited. So it's December, and I'm like, I'll look for some does. But I had known there are coyotes in, so like deep down, I was like, I'd rather actually try to shoot a coyote today, just to see. I don't shoot that. I shoot not that many. But they're cool, right? And I collect all the tails, so I get a bunch of tails that I like to have. So, anyways, sitting out there and I see one coming, and if anybody's seen a coyote like hunting, like they don't stop. Like most of the time when you see one, they're cruising around. So he pops up. It's kind of hazy. I see him, and I got my left hand on my scope because I'm trying to keep the fog off my glasses and off the scope, like glass itself. And I put my hand below it and I get ready to shoot. I'm like this. And I literally had my thumb where the hammer was going to hit down. So I shoot and I'm bleeding out of my thumb and stuff. I'm like, what? Is this the first time I ever shot a freaking gun? And so, no, that'll happen. Even if you've been hunting for a long time and, this is a rifle you've had for a long time, just
yeah,
how it goes.
you gotta laugh about some of that stuff. It's less funny if it happens on a giant buck, but that wasn't.
Yeah, right.
That was doe hunt. But it's good to stay fresh out there.
That's right.
Things I learned that a few years back. I stopped messing around with hunting with different guns. People are like, "Why do you hunt in northern Michigan with a slug gun?" It's like, because I have to in southern Michigan, and I don't want to be messing around with two scopes, two triggers, 2 sets of ammunition. Like, I just want to hunt with the same gun and know it kind of like intimately, so
Slug
that.
guy, huh?
What's that?
So you're a slug guy.
Well, that was when I was living in Southeast Michigan.
Yeah.
Now I live in northwest corner of the state. So I have a JM Marlin 3030 with a 2.5x7 loophole. That
Oh yeah.
is a really fantastic, because you know um I'm pretty light out there about, going here, going there, going. And my point is, you just carrying a bigger, heavier gun around gets to be very unfun. Like, I have a really sweet 30-06, and if I was going to go to a blind and sit for the day, I'd probably take that 30-06. Got a bigger scope on it. I can shoot farther.
Yeah.
But that JM Marlin 3030 is just like, it's dirt dupe. My saddle setups and hunting with that gun are pretty elite. I have that, and then I have a inline 45 muzzle loader, the
Nice.
Patriot by Woodman's Arms, and that is a beautiful gun. So I have, hey, call me crazy, I still muzzleloader hunt muzzleloader season.
So
This old timer here, he's still using a muzzleloader.
the kids are gonna be like, "What's a muzzle loader?" You know,
Somebody's
what
got
they use in the Revolutionary War.
somebody's got to do something there. Dude, we got to have a traditional. We got to have. Oh, that's the funny thing. I'm sitting here now. I brought this up on our podcast, and some guy just gave it to me because I wasn't using a flintlock, dude. He's like, "You're not a traditional muzzleloader hunter," and I was like, "Oh my God, he's kind of got me here." I'm sitting here, I'm doing the same thing, but
Yeah.
I like that we have a black powder season. I think something about snowy late season deer hunts with black powder are just meant to be.
That's
Yes,
cool.
I don't
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of us having, and I think it's everybody kind of agrees. Like, what do we got? We're at like 4 weeks of rifle hunting now here in the state. It seems pretty excessive.
Yeah, you can mow. Well, they want us to shoot more deer, and we keep shooting less every year. That
Yeah, they gotta get there's they gotta get it figured out, and I'm sure that they can, but it seems like that. We just talked about this actually coming out on. I don't know when you're gonna release this, but as we're recording this, what's the date?
$11th.
It's the 11th. So the show that'll be going out this Friday, I guess that'd be the 14th. Would be We're talking about the deer hunting regs in the state and the governing body and the NRC, some of the problems we see, what can we do about it besides just belly aching?
Yeah.
I had Adam Lewis from Deer IQ. Him and I did a 2-part series, and Adam's real smart guy. He pays real close attention. So I feel like the same thing with the scrape product. The part one's education, like as educated as everybody can be about these things as a community. Like, you see in Michigan, deer are getting bigger, and I think that's just because like that's like grassroots effort. Like,
It's an actual culture change.
it's culture, and politics is downstream of culture, and it always will be.
Exactly. Yep.
So
But we try to get that opposite, and we'll try to. That's why, like, I love adding that earlier doe season and everything else, right? That's great. But it's really hard to just keep adding tags and expecting that that's going to change the culture of deer hunting by adding more doe tags, because that's the opposite effect. That's the wrong order.
yeah, I'm long time kind of been an advocate for like earn a second buck tag.
Yeah.
If you want a second buck tag, that's cool, but we need a favor from you. Like, we need a dead doe.
Yep.
So, I don't know. I haven't heard it discussed in detail yet to me where it doesn't make sense, where people can be like, here's why it doesn't make sense. So, I'd maybe like to see that done. And then I don't know what you do. I guess, you got to have like a little bit of a rebranding campaign about what's cool about hunting and incentivizing more people to go out and try to shoot antlerless deer. But I think the fact is a ton of deer hunters only go out and shoot one deer a year. And if they're going to go out and shoot one deer a year, you're goddamn right. They're going to shoot a buck if they got a chance over a doe, you know?
Yeah,
So,
100%.
I like the more liberal doe seasons as well,
Yeah.
but it seems like it seems like we can figure out how to put more pressure on the doe population and back a little bit off the buck. And a lot of people, like the state, would be happier. The general deer hunter would be happier. You and I, as deer hunting enthusiasts, would be happier, right? Like we want to see it move in a better direction. And I'm curious what your take is on how you feel about them. How do you feel about the prices of our licenses in comparison to other states? I personally feel like we are. I feel like every time I get a deer tag that like I was like, really, it's only that cheap, like because it's so
Yeah.
uh, in comparison, especially to what I've paid in other states.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like,
I don't I've it's funny you say that. I've never really thought about it. And I've been at well, unless somebody asks me about it, it's like, I don't know, it's just a deer tag. Like I don't know. I'm gonna use this to get hopefully at least 40 pounds of meat, and
you can't
I
even.
don't know. And like if during this extra season we get at the end of the year is like a $5 doe tag,
uh, Yeah,
so I'm like, ah, I've never really had a problem with it. I think some of the out of state costs are a little high, but compared to a lot of other, I mean, it's nothing like Illinois. Wisconsin is more out of state friendly, but um, I feel like it's fine. I know aren't prices going up in 2025?
well, that's why I'm asking you this is because they're kind of laying the groundwork and they're testing the general populace by bringing it up and seeing reaction and kind of doing a study on like how it's going to be perceived. And there's a lot of people complaining, and I'm sitting here as one going like, yeah, I don't really want the cost of things to go up. And I think that a lot of people's frustration stems from the fact that they do believe that the quality of the experience is going down and that their voices aren't being heard. Like I said, Adam and I just talked a lot about this. So like they're like, why do I want to give you more money? I'm getting a lower quality product than what I want. You guys don't listen to us anyways.
Yeah.
But kind of my hopes and dreams are is that because our money is so valuable because we fund so much of the space that like eventually something's going to happen where it's like, all right, yeah, that we're either going to honor the requests of all these people that are funding for the whole thing to work, or we're going to be shit out of luck. And we're kind of seeing that happen for the federal government right now in a big way. We're going through
Yeah.
a huge cultural and economic revolution here in this country. So it would be a good time for that to kind of trickle down to some local levels. And I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't. But I think a huge portion of kind of setting the groundwork for that is, putting that out in the populace. And I think it's probably okay for us as hunters to say, yeah, we're probably overdue here to step up and, you know, pay a little bit more for these tags. Cause like what you just said for, uh, I don't know what a buck combo tag costs, but it's about what it takes me to fill up my truck one time.
Yeah.
I don't think I
Right.
fill up my truck if it was on E for what a 2 buck tags I can get. And then a doe tag when it's regularly priced is like going to McDonald's for 2 people,
Right.
and
Yeah, exactly.
a $5 dough tag, you're getting a Bang Energy, and you don't even have enough left for beef jerky.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, I wonder when they're raising the price like that, I think what they're looking at is like how elastic is a deer license for hunters. Like, you know, if the price goes up, does that affect how many people are going to be buying or not? And I wonder if part of it's like, well, hunting numbers are, I've heard they're going down. So maybe they're like, well, we're losing money. Let's raise the tag. The guys that are going to be hunting are going to buy a tag, whether it's $30 or $45 or whatever.
Yeah.
And so they're just banking on us being like, this is something that I'm going to buy no matter what, to a certain extent,
Yeah.
and trying to make the cash that way. But I also, to your point, like, we are seeing in the federal government where voices that have been traditionally over the past 15 years kind of not listened to
Or
now are at the forefront. Yeah. Yeah, probably 40. Yeah, I'm trying to think back as I'm thinking of I'm adding 5 years in my head. So all that being said, a long time where all of a sudden it's like, oh, we have to listen to our constituents, this voice that we've been ignoring. That's, I guess in the federal government's case, the majority of the voting population. And so the same should be said for deer hunting. Hopefully it trickles down to the state level and into state, run issues, and deer being one of them. Because, like you said, hunters are asking and want certain things, and would be willing to put up with other things. So, to your point, the earn a second buck tag, I think I think that's I think it's a fantastic. I've always thought that was a fantastic idea. Like, if I'm an average hunter and I know that's the case, day one I'm going out and shooting a doe. I'm not even waiting to shoot my first buck to get a doe and then shoot a buck. Like, I want to earn my second buck tag as fast as possible, so I'm going to go shoot a doe as quickly as possible. And I don't think I would be alone in thinking that. I think a lot of hunters would do that.
yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. If there was if I felt like the honesty and the transparency was there, I would want to pay for the whole thing. Because
Right.
Jordan Brown brought this up to me when the solar panel thing got proposed and everybody lost their shit, rightfully so.
Yeah.
Right? This is the dumbest idea ever. Listen, I got to tell you, people, I live in northern Michigan. I drive past solar panels every day. I have for the last 8 weeks. They've been covered in snow. It is
Yeah.
the dumbest thing ever to put solar in northern Michigan. Then the audacity to go cut down a state forest, cut down the trees, and mow the landscape down and replace it with glass, metal, and plastic. That,
In an effort to be sustainable.
well, listen to this too, and I think this wasn't talked about enough. So, okay, the bureaucrats fund this big giant project, green energy, it's subsidized. Okay, 10, 15 years go by, the thing's losing money, and the contractor cut and runs. Nobody's coming to pull that out. That stuff out forever. You just turned a piece of wilderness into a junkyard.
Yeah. Totally. Totally. That's how it will go.
Look at how many natural gas rigs are on the landscape because that pocket dried up, that well's no more. Okay, so guess what? That pump takes up maybe a 25 by 25 square yard area, and it's a little bit unsightly, but it doesn't destroy 400 acres of wilderness. You know,
Just a shocking idea.
it was terrible, but here was Jordan's point. The state's desperate to figure out how to find funding for the natural resources, and they have to experiment with all options. And you can't have hunters saying, we're not going to pay any more. But some of these people are pissed because they feel like their money's not being, that's where I said the transparency and the honesty.
That's transparency. Yeah.
If we can see that it's being allocated correctly and agree that, like, this is how we want it done, and I don't want anybody else paying for any of it because I don't want them to have a stake in the table. I don't want anybody that doesn't have as much hair in the game as me for the future of wilderness and hunting and conservation to have a right at the table. Like,
because are you what do you think of? Because part of the other thing that's been proposed around this idea is right now hunters are the only ones paying for licenses for doing these things, like, and people that fish, like fishermen and women. But they're talking about, like, you need a license for, certain types of hikes and bikes and all the other, like, land uses. Like, what do you think about that?
just let us pay it so we don't have to listen to those people tell us what they want to do. I don't want a bike trail through here.
It's worth the cost.
Sorry,
Yeah.
dude, you didn't pay anything. You're out.
Yeah.
I'm halfway joking. Okay, it's
Yep.
multi-use property. People that are using it, there's got to be some give and take there. But I don't know. There's been such and we're seeing it right now. So maybe we have this conversation again. There's such gross management of our money into the bureaucracy that everybody, rightfully so, is really irritated right now. So
Mhm.
I think it is a hot topic. And when they talk about raising the price of anything, I see why a lot of people are like,
Sure.
nope. And you see guys, they're pissed. They're like, I'm not even buying a Michigan tag anymore because, well, it's probably not going to do anything. Uh,
Right.
you know, they need they need money to keep the thing on the rails, and there's a lot of good people at the Department of Natural Resources, a lot of people
Mhm.
that really care. They do jobs for less money than what guys like me and you and other people are willing to do jobs for because they truly believe in the mission and they want to see it succeed and they want to protect these lands and these wilderness, the wildlife, the heritage, everything. But if it's going to coexist with humans, it's got to make money, baby. And so
Does.
that's fine. That's why I'm saying, like, hey, I'll step up. I'll have the biggest seat at the table, but I want the biggest seat at the table. Tell me how
If
much.
I pay for it, I want to say then.
Yeah, exactly right. So I think if we can start to get on that and see some traction there, that it would be a lot easier for the state to come to hunters and say, hey, can you guys help us out here? Like, we don't have per capita as many hunters, there's less licenses. Do you guys want us to go cut down state forests and put solar panels up, or can a deer license be another $10? That's an
Yeah.
easy decision for me. But seeing both would be really irritating, right? Like, okay, I'll pony up, but then you go Bennett Gorbian on this other side of it. That's where it's like it's going to be a real problem. So, but I do think we're going to see. You're already seeing they cut a huge portion of the EPA, all of this green energy subsidies are going to probably, a lot of these investors are going to get cold feet right away. So a lot of these projects are going to stop happening. You know, that's been such a just a gross
Yeah.
mismanagement of spending, subsidizing green energy for years. We need different methods of energy. I agree about that. And you should keep trying and testing all methods,
Sure.
but you should also be willing to accept defeat at
Admit it.
some levels and say, hey, if they're going to be covered in snow for 10 weeks and we got to go cut down a state forest, this probably isn't the spot for it. Let's look at a parking lot somewhere down south.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's not known for being cloudy, because of the giant lake to the west. Oh,
Dude. Oh,
you know. Well, it's also just like that's that's ideal, but it's also just not. It's not the government way. Typically, if it's not working, it's like, well, we don't have enough money.
well,
We would have had more money.
it's been failure to the top for 40 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Hey, you did a really shitty job. We're going to promote you.
You need more. The reason it would have been better had you just had a higher position.
Yeah.
Um.
No, that's
Anyway,
I
well,
could see like be a fly on the wall in some of these meetings. Like they bring you in, you're like, nobody's ever done as bad of a job as you did, and we'd like to reward you by bumping you up here. We're gonna have you run the whole thing into the ground, and like
it's the weirdest version of the Peter principle, ever.
so. Hopefully, we're gonna see a big shift and change. We're already seeing it. So yeah, I hope it trickles down to there'll be a battle over, you see a lot of people right now concerned, like, oh, are they going to come and grab land? This is a bad bill. But the states have to figure out how to balance their budgets. And this is a tool that they have. So if you're going to be online saying, I'm not going to pay another penny, you better be worried about what the alternative to that could be. So
Yeah, exactly.
got to talk about it, got to have the discussion, got to really think about it and figure out how we're going to move this thing forward.
Yeah, I love that, and that's a fair way to look at it. It's easy to just be like,
Oh, yeah.
say all, it's just easy to do that. Um,
Yep.
yeah. Now it's an interesting time as we're doing this. I'm getting a text. Elon Musk says there's a literal limestone mine where they store all the government's retirement paperwork built in the 1950s, and that they need to go up and down every time they want to retire someone from the federal government. The speed in which they can retire people is limited by the speed of the elevator shaft. The retirement process takes multiple months. And this is from the Doge Twitter account. So all that being said is, we're at the beginning of crazy stuff that's changing, and hopefully for the better.
It's been a fascinating couple weeks. I would listen to NPR a lot just because I'm like,
Same. I want to hear what they're saying.
I do. I love hearing how it gets manipulated and spun. And
Well, while NPR is still funded, NPR and PBS are not long for this world. They're going to be if they can stop funding the Department of Education, NPR's got no chance.
Well, that's kind of why I'm enjoying the dying days. I don't want to see it go away. I just don't want it to be taxpayer funded propaganda. And yeah, it's been a really exciting last couple weeks. There's like real everybody that ever voted for Obama should be super excited because he ran on hope and change and nothing
for where we're at.
Yeah. They said they wanted big reform, they wanted big change. And everything stayed the same. And so here we go.
Yeah,
we're gonna see what does it truly look like. And the mismanagement of the money is like it's insanity. Just in the last 2 weeks, I've been paying attention to the numbers.
Same.
And it's worse. It's not just like idiocracy, is like pure deception and just fraud and waste and gross abuse of spending. So I don't know, man. I'm feeling like we might get a little bit of the boot off of our throat.
Finally, I want a golden age, man. I'm expecting this golden age. I think it's gonna happen.
Dude, if I see interest rates back at like 3.5%, I'm gonna just like, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna be so excited. I got a 5.5% rate, a 5.45 on my current mortgage, which in times is not terrible.
No.
But anybody that experienced one of those 2.8 or 3%,
that was my old house
rates.
Yeah.
You're like,
it was like 2.2.
If it could just, crazy.
It was like free money. That's free money.
15-year fixed 2.4%. Yeah. So that makes a huge difference. It's like having a whole nother income into your house. So a lot of that, I'm really optimistic that people have the luxury of having the cash when in the next couple of years, because the economy takes off and things are a little bit better, where people aren't necessarily freaking out that deer licenses. And we can only hope that like the culture in the state, things are going, our voices are getting heard a little bit better. It seems like there was a lot of unity when that whole solar panel thing, like the NRC wasn't even, I guess, the panel that proposed that, but dude, everybody just was like, who can we attack for this? Like,
yeah, exactly. Find the bad guy.
Everybody was super pissed. And then those guys, dude, I don't know if you saw that viral meeting of that guy that was he went to one of the NRC meetings.
Oh, I did.
Yeah. It was on the MUCC website, and he just like, it was like a roast, like a Comedy Central roast. He just roasted every guy up there on the panel about them being in bed with green energy.
Yeah, insurance. Yeah.
Yeah, and he went to like all the residents and verified none of them have solar panels on any of their properties. It was hilarious. So that when I say when we need that part of this all has to be the transparency and the honesty. I don't know. Maybe we'll see it all trickle down here from federal to local here sooner than later because we're sick of it.
Yeah. Yep. Totally sick of it. And it is kind of encouraging that you do have a voice that actually means something. Cause for a while it's like, oh, that's just what we say, and you kind of stop believing it after a while. And then all of a sudden it happens. It's like, oh yeah, this is allowed,
Yeah. You'd swear after every public statement that they ever made, they'd walk away and under their breath go, psych.
Exactly. Truly. That's what you expect. It's like, well, that's nice. But, and then it's just like, you assume something wouldn't work. Cause that's all we've known. That's all I've ever grown up knowing. I was taught one thing at school, and reality, you see something totally different.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, we could, go down that trail.
Oh yeah, we could do a whole sheet metal hat podcast. I'm graduated out of tinfoil.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, tinfoil is for noobs. So yeah, it's
Just kidding.
all right. Well, appreciate you taking the time.
Pleasure.
Everybody who's listening, yeah, go check out Deer Hunter Podcast. Super straightforward. You're gonna find Kevin, all his stuff that he's got going on. And like I said at the beginning, March 19, be there. It's gonna be a cool event. Kevin could even be there. He'll be signing autographs. So, yeah. Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
No, just thanks for doing this. We're working on getting a date together for our thing again at Sable River Outfitters, probably March one weekend for the collective. Not sure on a date yet, so I haven't reached out to anybody. I'm kind of a little bit behind the ball on that, but no, not a whole lot. We're gonna change our website over this year. Do a little bit of change of face. We've been doing this now going on a decade and kind of found our path forward and excited about this year. And then for anybody that's listening also, yeah, we've been real active on YouTube. Byron's working real hard behind the scenes getting quality videos, education stuff, entertainment stuff, and like I said, our deer hunts from this past season will be we'll be putting that up going into next year. So Deer Hunter Podcast also on YouTube.
Yeah, that's awesome. You guys have been putting stuff up there. It's been great. I just was watching one today, so they're fun. It's good to see what other people are doing out in the woods and those kind of hunting. I love the YouTube style type deal where it's kind of more raw, people out doing their own thing and filming it as they go. So it's been cool to watch that too. Appreciate the stuff you're putting out.
Yeah, go watch me miss a nice buck at 60 yards with my JM Marlin in a saddle on a free land hunt, DIY up in the big woods in northern Michigan. It's up there. That one's already active. I already put one of my hunts up from this year on a deer. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was entertaining. So, but thanks a lot, man. I always enjoy talking with you. I really do. So,
Same. Yeah, it's always fun, and we'll do it again real soon. So everybody keep an eye out for it. And yeah, thanks for listening in.